Good morning, as my good friend Coda says. Good morning, good morning. And I just wanted to do a quick video, quick and dirty, just to talk about some of our new coffees and brew them for you. Now, our coffees here in Honeycomb, we actually have free pour over coffees, free black filter for everybody who works here in Honeycomb. And if you're coming from the outside, it's actually only 100 pesos, which is under $2 US. It's kind of crazy. But in order to be able to do that, we have a lot of magic that happens inside the economy of Honeycomb. And using these three Brazils is part of that. So I'm gonna brew them. I'll talk a bit about them as I'm brewing them and let you know what's going on. But it's Monday, we roasted last Monday. It's been a week, it's time to taste these coffees. Let's get brewing. All right. So all of our coffees are 12 grams in, 180. I'm brew them all at the same time with a 30-second interval in between. Now, why 30 seconds? Well, I need time to get my wet stir in on each of these coffees. So I put in the water to about 15, so it's 12 in and going up to 28 grams of coffee, of water per brew. And so that should give me adequate bloom time. Now we're really trying to brew all these coffees exactly the same way so that we can taste them like in sequence and get a good idea of what they're tasting like today. Now they are all from Brazil, but as I'm sure you guys have figured out, Brazil's a very, very big country. So that could mean that they come from very many places. Now these coffees are labeled very differently from most single origin coffees. Brazil, of course, one of the largest producers of coffee in the world. They're able to kind of mechanize and do like mechanical sorting, mechanical drying, all sorts of special stuff to get their coffees up to a very high standard. So you have a lot of very high quality coffees being produced at a high standard. Some of the more special like micro lot coffees can be really good, but Brazil is the #1 exporter for high quality Arabicas for a reason. Government invested pretty heavily in making sure that their industries were very robust for processing and sorting coffees. All right, so we're coming up on 2 minutes on this first coffee. So I'm going to increase my amount of pour. Here at the brew bar, we actually use the smallest V60, and the reason why is because this is actually a really good training device. If you want to learn how to brew good coffees, probably the most important factor to remember is that you want your the amount of coffee inside the cone, the amount of slurry we call it, which is coffee plus water that's in the cone before it draws down. We want it only to get up to around that second bump in a V60, and they'll go higher if your V60 is higher, because that accounts for about like a third of the height of any V60. All right, so my goal is to have all these coffees brewed in around 3.5 minutes, and we're right on target. 180 grams, 180 grams, and this one, almost there. Bloop. 180 grams, perfect. Man, that brews the kettle. 3 pour overs with just one fill. That worked really well. All right. So what are our coffees today? All of them come from our green supplier here. It's called 80 Plus Coffees. If you don't know about them, they supply some of the best roasteries in Asia. And so we're enjoying being able to supply their coffees, not just inside of our co-working space to ourselves, but also to people in our apprenticeship program who've moved on to roasting. So if you start the cafe, you can actually co-roast with us and have all of these coffees available to you. Now the blend that we use, which is the black filter, literally just called black filter, uses these 3 Brazils and an Ethiopia Guji Uraga. Now have been tasting this, so I do know what that tastes like. But these Brazils, I just want to make sure that they taste really nice today in particular, which is the first day we're serving them. And we're going to profile them so that we can see what they each taste like. So I'm going to get my tasting cup. A little bit of kinetic cooling technique, KCT. And first one up is the Brazil Bravo. So this is the 80 plus Ally Brazil Bravo. So on the nose, what you do is you hold the nose up to you hold the glass up to your nose, then breathe in with your mouth, because you can't breathe in with just your mouth. Like breathing through your nose is automatic. So it allows you to just get more scent in just into your nose without having to have a lot of vacuum in there. And on the nose, this one's actually quite light. Nutty, like a hazelnut. Chocolate. Good morning. All right, next one. So this second copy is the 80 plus Ally Brazil Bloom. All right, so another quick round of kinetic cooling technique. Completely different palette. Also some chocolate, but not as dark as that one, as the first one. More unusual acidity. There is acidity, but it's low, almost like an orange. Lots of great body. Nice amount of oil in this coffee. So with coffees, there are three things that you're looking to taste. You're tasting for sweetness, you're tasting for acidity. So when you say cherry, that's an acidity flavor note. And then the mouthfeel that comes from all of the fat in your coffee. Now, a lot of people don't think of coffee as having fat, but there is oil in it, and oils are fats. All right, one more cup. All right, so this last one is the Brazil 80 plus, also an Ally, except this one is the Natural Pau, P-A-U. Is that cherry? Like black cherry. Morning. It's definitely lighter bodied. After you've tasted them, you have more or less an idea what they taste like. Let's do a little wet blending and taste them all together. So I'm gonna say 25 ml of each. Oops. It's a little bit of a spill. Cleaned up right away. I had to pause there a minute because I couldn't do the math in my head. The 25 plus 25 is 50, right? So we'll go up to 50, and then the last one we'll put in up to 75. All right, so let's taste our little wet blended coffee. Cheers. Right away, much rounder taste, a lot more sweetness. Like the sweetness that's kind of consistent across the three of them. It's really concentrated in this one. The acidity, it just makes for more complexity. Still a very comfortable round cup, still very much like a Brazil coffee. This one's very clean, but kind of together, they kind of vault together and make this big, juicy, chocolatey, sweet cup. Now the Ethiopia that's gonna go in there is gonna increase the amount of like acidity to make it a bit more juicy. But even just with these Brazils, which are relatively low cost green coffees, we're able to make something that's very complex and very delicious simply by stacking them together. Now, my favorite example that I got recently was Sabrina Carpenter's what do you call it, audio technician, right, music producer, explaining the idea that he was doing, where he wasn't using reverb to make her vocals sound full. What he was doing, he was making her take multiple takes, so it was the same voice over and over, kind of stacked on top of each other. And if you're familiar with like girl groups, the late 90s, early 2000s, my favorite is a little known group called Out of Eden. Have an incredible cover of Lovely Day, and they're sisters. And because they're so genetically similar, their voices really stick to each other when they're singing melodies and even harmonies together. And so this is kind of like that Sabrina Carpenter stacking of the same voice on top of each other. Brazil on Brazil on Brazil makes for a really interesting cup that tastes almost like it has reverb. All right, so these are gonna go on deck this week at Honeycomb Manila. If you're coming to visit us, come have a drink. They're free for members and 100 pesos for people who are outside. We do a big batch brew in the Kawava cone. Shout out to Kawava, but also shout out to Jay Karage, who did a video on that this week. And I wish you guys a good week. Wish you guys good luck, good health, some great coffee. Let's get some work done. Peace. Oh, I'm gonna be in Taipei Coffee Expo this week. Hit me up if you're there.